Welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, it's so great to have you. Thanks so much for spending your time with me and my guest. I hope you enjoy the show. Well, we're going to highlight a woman who's been here before, who I totally enjoy having, and I know that you will too. Her name is Lauren Yarger. She's a producer of Gracewell Productions. She's also associated with the Outer Critics Circle, the Executive Producer Awards. She's also the co-founder of the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women, and she's also associated with the Dramatists Guild of America. So Lauren, thanks so much for being here. It's so nice to have you again.
Oh, thanks for having me, Deborah. It's always a pleasure.
Well, what you and I were just talking about, which you might remember, is that I love to introduce the guest to the viewer again. So if you'd be kind enough to take us into your background, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm mostly producing right now, but I have a long background in many different areas of theater. I'm a playwright and also have directed some things. I right now leave that to someone who's more talented than I to do, but still write some plays from time to time, so I keep my hand in that area. The League of Professional Theater Women, the Connecticut chapter, keeps me very busy at the moment. And before all of that, I also was a critic. So I reviewed in New York, Broadway and off-Broadway, and then also up here in Connecticut for many years. So lots of theater years.
When you're saying a reviewer and a critic, is that associated with writing? Were you a writer growing up?
Well, I did some writing, but I was a newspaper editor actually before I started into full-time doing theater. So my background was in reporting the news and then editing newspapers. So coming into reviewing was kind of a stretch for me, because it was funny. A friend of mine was a critic, and she kept telling me that I should be doing it because she knew my love for theater and that I should be writing critiques about theater. But journalism, at least back in the day, dating myself by telling you this, but back when I was a journalist, you didn't have an opinion. You just wrote the news. You covered the news, both sides, three sides, whatever it was, of the issue to let people know what happened. But the reporter didn't offer an opinion. I mean, today, that's all you get is the reporter's opinion. But when I looked at doing theater reviewing, it was all opinion, and I was really reluctant to do that because I didn't even know how to do that at all, because you kept your opinion out. But there's an art to it, and I got the hang of it, and it's really been a lot of fun.
Now, I know that you love theater and you're very involved in theater. Did you ever think of another medium, film, television, commercial, video, anything else besides theater?
You know, I definitely never have thought much about film at all. To me, it's really funny. When I watch theater and when I am involved with theater, it's very specific and I see every detail. But when I watch films, I'm really mostly an audience member, and I'm just totally entertained. And people will say things like, did you see in that movie that there was this thing that got left out and everyone noticed, or and I'm like, no, I didn't see that at all. But if it happened on stage, I would have seen it. So it's a little different to me. The writing for all of those mediums are very different too. Screenplays and television writing are not too far from each other, but they're very different from a stage play. So you really have to have some training in all of those areas before you just jump in.
Now, you're a producer for Gracewell Productions. Tell us about that.
Well, it's a production company that I started. When I made the transition, I kind of went from full-time reviewing of theater to producing. So when I did that, I started the company. And mostly, I started the company and the pandemic happened. So there was a period there where not much was happening for anyone. And since then, I've been doing the reading series I have up here in Connecticut. I have one at the Palace Theater that is beginning its 4th season next month in November. So that's been quite an exciting partnership with them to do that. And then I had a reading series that I did one summer at Ireton Playhouse as well. So there are a couple of other projects that are on the table right now, and that's kind of what's happening with Gracewell at the moment.
Now, I have many people in the entertainment industry, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, etc., that are paying attention that you're a producer. What does a producer do?
Well, it depends on what the project is often. I'm not sure there's a general definition, but in theater, there are different kinds of producers. So it depends what kind of producing you're doing, what your job description might be. What I do is I'm basically overseeing the entire production because I'm doing smaller things. And I'm the type of producer who likes to have sort of a hands-on connection with the show I'm doing. So I like to be involved with a lot of the selection process, the show itself, the script, which one, am I going to produce? How is that going to be produced? Where is it going to be produced? Probably bringing on, in collaboration with the playwright, the director, who's going to direct it, possibly who's going to be in it, those kinds of things. So that's kind of at a very small level what the producer is involved with doing, and then raising funds to put the production on. If you're involved in a Broadway show, it's completely different. Huge. There's maybe 35 producers on a show, and only a few of them really have the job descriptions that have anything to do with the show. A lot of them are just putting money into the show.
Now, you had mentioned the table reading series. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, it's a really wonderful series at the Palace. Sherry Marcucci is at the Palace, and she coordinates a bunch of different programs at the Palace. So there's an author series, there's a second act series where people come and talk about how they've switched careers midlife. And the table reading series is now under that Spotlight series at the Palace. So we put up plays for playwrights. It's mostly for the playwright, because when you're writing a play, you have tunnel vision. You've sat at your computer and you've written the play and you know exactly what you want to accomplish, but you don't know if you did it. So reading is the way that the playwright can find out what's working and what's not working with a piece that's still in progress. So we've had all different levels of plays as I said, we're starting the 4th year in November, so we've had at least 3 offerings each year. So each of those plays, some of them have been hot off the press. Literally, the playwright has pulled the last page off the computer, and that's the first rendition of it. And some others have had productions, but the playwright might want to rework something. So they're all different stages. And the one we're doing now is in November is a musical, which I think we had spoken about on your show before. We did part 1 of it last season. It's Quentin, a Roosevelt musical. It's about the son of Teddy Roosevelt. And William Linster has written the music for this musical. And they did Act 1 last season, and it was quite a success. And they've gone on to have some full of other readings. And now they're doing parts 1 and 2, acts 1 and 2 in November, and in anticipation, I think, of taking it into a workshop process after this reading.
Now, people will hear table reading series and listen to what you've just said. How do you choose what you want to have performed?
Well, usually a play comes across my attention in one way or another. Either it's a playwright that I know and that I've worked with before, or I've attended a reading of a play or of another play of the playwright. So it's usually something that has attracted my attention. It's something that I think has legs, as we say in the industry, that it has potential to go on and become a production, and that it would be a successful production. So it's for the playwright to test the play out, but it's also for me to get a sense for what is the audience reaction to this? Is it working? Does it still have potential after we have the reading? Is this something I might want to produce in terms of a full production?
Co-founder of the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women. Please tell us what that's all about.
Well, the Connecticut chapter is sort of a branch of the League of Professional Theater Women, which has been in New York for over 40 years now. But we have so many amazingly, wonderfully talented women up here in Connecticut who work in theater that we've found this is our 9th season now with the chapter. We found that we wanted ways to connect with each other up here. And we started small, and we've been growing and going gangbusters ever since. We just had 4 events for the chapter in October alone, where chapter members received either free tickets to shows or discounted tickets to shows. And then we set lunches or dinners to connect with each other before we go to the show. So it's been really kind of a whirlwind. Things are getting busy. The fall season is always when theater starts, and Connecticut theater is busy anyway, but we've just been in a whirlwind here. There's just so much great theater going on, and so many women involved that keep finding out about us now, and are applying to become members. So it's quite active.
Now, I know that you're on the board of the League of Professional Theater Women. Is that in New York? Are you doing New York and Connecticut at the same time?
The board is in New York. Yeah, the full organization is based in New York, and I sit on that board as well as co-chair the Connecticut chapter. So it's interesting. It's helpful to us to be connected to New York that way, so that we sort of are at the table and have a say as far as Connecticut is concerned in New York when they're making decisions. And then we have a close relationship with them. Often New York members will come up and come to our events. And we're really quite excited about our March event coming up in Connecticut. It's a month-long statewide celebration of women in theater. So we have multiple events planned and multiple venues across the state, and it's going to be quite an exciting month.
Tell us about that. I know that's a big deal. I am very fortunate to be a new member of the League of Professional Theater Women, the Connecticut chapter, which I'm thrilled about. And I keep reading about the March event. Tell us what that's about.
Well, we're doing a celebration of women in theater because it's Women's History Month. So we picked March. And it's several-fold, actually, what we're doing. We first of all absorbed the Women Playwrights Festival that had been hosted by the Iverton Playhouse for the last 6 years. They determined that they weren't able to continue doing that, so we took that on. And we solicited submissions of plays for that, and the committee has been reading the selections, and probably in the next week or so, we will decide which ones we'd like to include in the festival. So we'll be presenting at least 2 presentations. I'm not sure yet, because until we decide which plays exactly we're presenting, I'm not sure if it's full-length plays or one acts. We received submissions of both, but we'll have 2 offerings of some kind that will be presented in a couple of different places around the state. So that's phase 1 of the celebration. And then we also will be having an event, a large event, that will celebrate women in theater in Connecticut. We'll have some guest celebrities attending. We'll have some awards that we'll be presenting and some various offerings to make a celebration of the night with a reception. It'll be a big deal. And then we also have, we're trying to be the hub. A lot of the theaters also present something because it's Women's History Month. They might have an event, or they might have a show that features women or a women's issue or something. And so whatever is happening around the state, all the theaters, we're going to be the hub for getting that information out to people. So we'll be having a new website for the league, actually, for the chapter to present shortly. And as part of that will be a landing page for this festival, this celebration in March, and all of that information about anything happening that month at any of the theaters will be included on that as well.
Okay, let's hold that thought and take a break. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
One of the most common cons this time of year is the utility scam. A bad actor may call or text you claiming to be with the utility company and threaten to turn off your electricity, saying you haven't paid your bill. They may also try to steal your money and sensitive personal information through a fake home energy assessment. This ruse often includes a phony credit check, which requires you to hand over your banking information and even your social security number. They may claim they can save you money on your energy bills if you buy their discounted equipment, but all you'll get is a big credit card bill. Always check with your utility company before letting someone into your home. Even if they're wearing credentials, they may be fake. Also, utility companies won't call or text you out of the blue threatening to turn off the lights. And while they do energy assessments, you have to set them up ahead of time. They don't just send people knocking on doors. For more information on how to protect yourself, visit Better Business Bureau at bbb.org. And to report a scam, visit bbb.org/scam tracker.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, I hope you're enjoying the show. My conversation continues on with Lauren Yarger. And Lauren, what I didn't want to forget is your website, gracewellproductions.com. What will the viewer find when they go there?
Well, usually, updates about the types of things that are happening, these readings at the Palace, you'll have information about what's coming up or what's just happened with pictures of the folks who attended. There's also links there to some of my work, to the plays that I've written and to the reviews that are up, that kind of thing. So generally anything that's connected with what I'm doing in theater is on that page somewhere.
And people are probably saying, Deborah, stop. I want to talk about the chapter. The Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women. There are probably many women that are out there saying that they want to be a part of it. How does somebody present themselves to you for membership?
Well, usually, most often it comes through someone else, another member or someone who knows about us. Connecticut is a big state, but the theater community is fairly small. So if you know somebody who is a chapter member, it's easy to say to them, hey, I'd like to be a member, and then they can quickly get you in touch with us. Sometimes we get people who come to our web page. The chapter's web page is connecticuttheaterwomen.wordpress.com. And if you go to that website, there's a form there where you can contact us and ask for information about becoming a member.
Theater. What are your thoughts about theater? How is it doing?
Well, it's certainly better than it was. The pandemic certainly put a big crimp in the theater world. And as I said, we're definitely better. We've come out of that, and there are lots of shows being produced. But ticket sales are not what they were, and people are not coming to the theater as often. They're not buying subscriptions to theaters. They're buying tickets last minute, so that's good. They're still, coming to the theater, but it's hard for the theaters to plan and to have budgets when they're not really sure how supported their shows are going to be. Funding is down, state funding, federal funding is iffy, and theaters are struggling. So if you love the theater, you need to find a show and go see it and support your local theater.
Gracewell Productions, your company, what are some of the things that you like to do and produce?
Well, these play readings have been a lot of fun. I really like new plays. Some companies produce classics and shows that have been done before, and we have had a couple in the reading series that have been done before, but mostly I'm excited about new work that is being created, and especially works that feature women playwrights or women on stage. I'm not exclusive to that, but you'll find if you look at what I produce that a lot of it has something to do with something that women are interested in seeing on stage.
For the individual that's listening saying, I want to do what Lauren's doing, how can I become a producer? How can I start my own production company? Any advice as to how somebody can get started?
Well, there's a lot to it. If you just want to have the title producer, you can invest in shows. You can give shows in New York money and become a co-producer just because you've given them money. So it doesn't take any knowledge necessarily about how to produce. If you are interested in the actual day-to-day, hands-on type of thing, probably get involved with a theater company, volunteer, or see if you can get in and figure out how it works. there are some classes that you can take. There are some programs that offer producer programs. Theater Resources Unlimited in New York is one of them. They have training for producers and different programs where they have a weekly Zoom where you can find out information about different areas of theater and what's happening. And so there are programs like that, but most of it's going to be hands-on learning on the job.
For the Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women, when you decided to be a co-founder of that organization, how did you decide that you wanted to do that, and what was the process to start that chapter going?
Well, I just felt like there were a lot of women. There are so many theaters in Connecticut. We are just blessed with theaters here. And as I was reviewing and getting to know some of the people at the various theaters, I knew some of the people because I was in contact with them as a reviewer. But there were other women, particularly who worked at these theaters, who I never met. I never had any contact with because I just didn't need to. You know, if they worked if they were the head of the education program or something, I wasn't connected with them in terms of coming to review one of the main stage shows. But there just seemed to be so many women that I didn't know. And I think several of us felt that way. So we decided to see if there was interest, and we put the word out that we were interested in getting together and networking. And we had a lot of women who responded to that. And we just decided at that point that several of us, the co-founders, Mary Miko and Marie Reynolds are the other two co-founders with me. We were members of the League of Professional Theater Women, so it just seemed a natural step to be a chapter rather than try to forge out and become our own organization at that time. So that's how we started.
Now, I know you have the March event coming up in 2025. Do you look ahead in the calendar year as to the things that you want to do? How does the chapter function?
Yes, we listen to our members. Sometimes members will ask us, you know, they find that they need a particular type of thing, you know, perhaps, you know, someone speaking about a particular topic or a particular event type thing. We're looking right now, we've had a number of inquiries from people about photo shoots for shows. When you produce a show, you know, usually there's a photographer who comes in the rehearsal process and takes the photos for the show that are then used by the press, so that when you see in your newspaper, there's an article about or a review about a show at your local theater. There's usually a picture showing the production. Those pictures are taken as part of the process of that production. And we're looking now at putting together a program about, you know, how does that get done? How do those shoots happen? There are a lot of questions just from theater to theater. Theaters do things differently, so they want to learn from each other, and even the process of how do you become a photographer who would take those types of shoots for theater. So that program is in talks right now.
Your thoughts about theater as it moves forward, 2024, 2025, 2026, we talked a little bit about it. How does the future look like for theater? Does it continue to look bright? Will it be around for years to come?
Well, I think it will be. I don't know that it'll be necessarily in the same form that we have seen. I think theater will need to change to keep up with the times. And I think that the key will be audiences. I think that sometimes right now we're seeing theaters trying and experimenting with different things and trying to create the type of theater they think people want, but I'm not sure that they're always asking the audience what they want. So I think when they get those two things together, it'll clear up, but it'll probably look different. I think the typical theater season that we have seen before is probably on its way out, and we will see new, different kinds of shows that are offered, particularly those that might appeal to a younger audience. And I think we'll see experimentation phase kind of maybe end, and they'll figure out what it is that the audience wants, and then we'll see that.
We are slowly starting to run out of time. Any closing thoughts about Gracewell Productions and what you're doing, or about the League of Professional Theater Women, the chapter? What are your thoughts about either?
Well, they're both really wonderfully satisfying things to do, and I'm always happy to meet with anybody who is interested in either one. If you're particularly a woman working in Connecticut theater and you're just hearing about the chapter now, or you've heard about it and you weren't sure if you want to be involved, we do events pretty much around the state, and this March of celebration will be having productions of things in various parts around the state, so that we try to make it so that if you can't get to everything, you can at least get to something. And please, if you see an event happening in your area and you want to come, just contact us. Most of the events that we do are not closed. They're not just for members, they're open to the public. And certainly the March events will be as well. So just contact us and we'll get you connected.
Well, it's been wonderful having you again. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. It's always a pleasure to come on and talk with your viewers.
I'm Deborah Gilbert, and you've been tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. In case you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Have a super day. I'll see you next time.